Oh god, why are people this way? For the sake of transparency, I didn't even know Casino Guitars was a shop or a store or a YouTube channel before this video. This was shared to me from a friend who wanted to think my opinion on it. For the sake of transparency, I didn't even know Casino Guitars was a shop, a store, or a YouTube channel before this. This was shared to me by a friend who wanted to think my opinion on it, so this is in no way or shape a personal thing against these two guys. But when I hear dumb stuff like this, like with Trugly, I have to say it. I know it's not all of you, but some Americans really get weird about stuff like this. I have never seen any European or Asian person get this bothered about this kind of stuff, because there's a very specific way of saying stuff and wording something that clearly shows your intent. In this case, these two guys, specifically this one, has an honestly awful way to word things, using words as repugnant, ripping off, slave labor, and stealing show how biased he is and how righteous he feels about this topic.
And steal the fruits of their labor that pays their staff to pay slave wages to. I find it repugnant. Factors that they're stealing from. Sub-fair wage paid jobs.
I'm sure that in his head he thinks of himself some kind of activist hero and standing up for what is right and defending these multi-million-dollar companies against the tyrant evil company trying to make affordable versions of instruments some people wouldn't be able to afford anyways. Using such horrible accusations as Harley Benton using slave labor to build these guitars. If by that you mean they are made overseas, that's not only slander that could be getting you and your company into legal trouble with Thomann, but a completely ignorant and borderline racist take on Asian-made guitars. Not trying to defend the work conditions of quote-unquote Chinese sweatshops by any means, but even if you mean that, that's far from slave labor. I want to assume massive ignorance over malice in this case, but you constantly using the word slave as a cheap shot against Harley Benton makes it really difficult. Also the massive hypocrisy of you having Fender, PRS and Gibson products in the back while saying this. Does Fender not pay quote-unquote slave wages and quote-unquote slave labor to build the Squire line? Doesn't it Gibson with Epiphone? Doesn't it PRS with the SE line? Doesn't pretty much every company that has an overseas or Asian-made line? Is building guitars in China or other Asian countries bad when the company making them is copying famous models but okay when the companies are just making their own designs? You have to be really disconnected from the overall community, which, just so you know guys, isn't all 50-year-old white American dudes anymore, to say that all praise towards Harley Benton is somehow bought and fabricated, making this the biggest ad campaign of the entire industry from its dawn. Given how it's not just websites and magazines saying it, it's YouTubers that bought the guitars from their own, it's the users, it's the community that's composed by the actual people without any other interest rather than playing a good guitar. Are some Harley Benton reviews sponsored? Of course, it would be disingenuous to say otherwise, but to claim the only reason they get good PR is because somehow Thomann paid millions of people to say so is not only ridiculous but absolutely stupid. It's astounding how you guys even come close to making the realization that the people that are buying Harley Benton guitars are not the same people that will buy a $3,000 plus guitar from any other brand that Harley Benton is copying.
But I get the appeal of, hey, I'm just a gigging guy, or I play in my living room and I want this thing, but I don't want to spend $2,000. Here's a, or you said they're sub $500?
Well, there are some guys that buy both for the sake of making, I don't know, a comparison video in YouTube or something like that. That's a minuscule minority that doesn't reflect the consumer base of either side of the industry. This is the early 2000s argument of you wouldn't pirate a house or you wouldn't pirate a car all over again. Harley Benton making Les Paul copies or Stratocaster copies does not affect Gibson or Fender sales. If that was the case, then all of the old companies would have gone bankrupt 20 years ago. The guy that is buying a $300 Harley Benton is probably because he cannot afford a $3,000 Gibson. The fact that anyone has to even explain this is incredibly sad. I know it may be difficult from a privileged person from the United States to even stop to think about anything outside their borders, but not everyone in the world can afford a Taylor T5C, which retails about $3,000 US, but would absolutely be able to get a Harley Benton hybrid steel acoustic, which is about $370 US. To say Harley Benton is in any way, shape or form affecting Taylor sales by making a guitar that is 10 times cheaper is a massive misunderstanding on how the guitar market works. You keep using these void arguments of all companies stealing wasn't an issue because I wasn't alive, but I am now, so I can do something now. It's almost funny, you openly admit on this video on how the Les Paul is a stolen design. This is what you could do: stop selling Gibson products in your store. Start boycotting them for stealing not only the Les Paul design, also directly copying Fender and PRS products. Same with Fender the other way around and PRS the other way around. It doesn't matter that you weren't alive back in the 50s, that doesn't erase the fact that Gibson, Fender and PRS have stolen each other's designs and other designs from other companies in some way or form. You can still boycott those past acts if you actually want to make a difference you can participate in it, then do that. Don't boycott a brand that you don't sell or have any relationship with, and don't use your audience and reach into the community to spew such hateful and ignorant comments. Because the way you guys put it in this video, you appear to want for no affordable options to exist and for people that just can't afford American-made guitars for thousands of dollars to just not play guitar. That is, if you're not massive hypocrites that are choosing to call one thing slave labor and another overseas base labor just because you want to be in good terms with one company and don't care about the other. We as a community shouldn't accept this type of behavior from a company, especially not in an open and public YouTube channel. To make a video openly slandering another company just because they can't accept the concept of affordable gear to reach more people and more players just because they look like guitars American companies make. The entire guitar industry is not just the United States, and the optic of American-made good, Chinese-made bad should be absolutely frowned upon in every way and sense. And I want to be very clear on this is not against all American people. I have some great American viewers that love affordable gear and know that this is all bullshit pretty much. But this type of behavior is one I almost exclusively see on American people on the community. I'm trying my best not to be rude on this video, but that's not something they ever had in mind when making their video, so there's that. Again, I don't even know the name of these guys because I didn't even know their channel existed, but they seem incredibly close-minded and are part of what has hurt this community for decades now. Don't support this. Stand against what's wrong, and we as a community will improve. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.